Welcome to the Postgraduate Discovery Month recorded sessions. This session is on preparing for postgraduate study at Salford. So what we'll cover today is the Master's application journey, what can you study, how to apply for Salford, a run through of the application portal, personal statement, do's and don'ts, portfolio and interview guidance. Also we'll be covering financing your Master's degree, fees and funding options, scholarships, bursary and additional support available to you, as well as what you can expect once you've applied. So how will you receive your offer letter and how will you respond to it, as well as a little bit about registration and welcome week. So what can you study at Salford? There are 4 types of qualifications you can study at Salford. You can choose from a full standalone master's worth 180 credits, a postgraduate diploma, or a PG dip as they're commonly known, worth 120 credits, the postgraduate certificate, also displayed as a PG cert, worth 60 credits, and the single module, worth 30 credits. You can see that there is only a 60 credit difference between the full standalone masters and the PG dip. This is due to the final project or dissertation you must complete in order to receive the master's qualifications. If you choose to do a PG dip, or you choose not to complete your final project, then you will graduate with that PG dip instead. A postgraduate certificate or single modules are often taken as professional development, acceleration, or top-ups. To find out more, visit our website. I'll run through a quick average breakdown. So the average breakdown does vary course by course, depending on the type, length, and mode of study. For example, an average breakdown of a full standalone master's full-time is a duration of 12 months, with 4 times 30 credits, which are 2 per trimester, with the 3rd trimester focusing on your extended project or dissertation worth 60 credits. If you're looking at a full-time PG dip, it will consist of the same aspects apart from the extended project or dissertation. So you will still do your 4 times 30 credits and then 2 per trimester if you're doing it full-time. A single module and a PG cert, so a postgraduate certificate, are taught usually within the 1st trimester, but it can span over 6 months, so 1st and 2nd trimester for PG cert. The part-time duration can range from anywhere from 18 months to 36 months. This is due to some of the part-time courses we have in health, so some of those might be 3 years. To find out more about the duration of your course, or anything, whether you can study it as a master's, a postgraduate diploma, or postgraduate certificate, I highly recommend going to the course page on our website to find out more. Postgraduate study allows you to either continue down the path that you have started at undergraduate level and become a specialist in your area, but it also allows you an alternative option of studying a non-cognate degree. So we here at Salford offer nearly 50 postgraduate degrees that you can study without any prior degree, and those are known as non-cognate degrees. So below is a whole list of areas that you can go into that offer those non-cognate degrees, and if you're interested in any of the kind of areas that you might want to have a look into, whether a course is taught that you might be interested in, scan that QR code and it will take you to our website. So a lot of these courses, like I said, you won't need any prior degree, you don't need any portfolio or interviews or experience within that area. However, there are some that you will need that specific experience or portfolio, and I'll move on to that in the next slide. As I've mentioned, some of our non-cognate degrees may require practical experience of a portfolio or evidence of working in a healthcare setting. So for example, if you're looking or interested in studying the nursing degrees that we offer, which is nursing adult, which is a January entry only, or nursing mental health, again, January entry only, you would need to have 800 hours evidenced as work in a healthcare setting. With SAMCT, for example, so that is our School of Arts, Media and Creative Technology, if you're interested in something like screen acting, you'll most likely need to provide evidence of having done some performance arts, such as submit a show reel or portfolio of your acting. So it could be anything from, it will be specified on the website, but it could be anything from a 3-minute video where you have to put yourself in front of the camera and have to deliver maybe a monologue or something along those lines. It's basically there to showcase that you have examples of your acting roles or examples of that you're able to act or what you might want to do. There may also be interviews and auditions. So within the School of Health and Society, with nursing, you will most likely have interviews to progress to the final stage. And with something like dance, screen acting, those are usually the areas where you will be doing auditions. But all of this is laid out on the website. So what I recommend is if these are one of the courses that you're interested in, go to the course website, and under requirements, it will go into detail exactly what you need to include in your personal statement, but that's for all courses. Additionally, it will tell you what portfolio you may need to include, if it's a show reel, if it's an interview that you need to attend, if it is evidencing those 800 hours for nursing. All of that will be basically put in there. Applying to Salford. So for almost all of our courses, you will need to apply directly to the university via our online application portal. I've put the link up there. You can also do that by going onto your course and clicking how to apply at the bottom, and then it will link you to the apply page, and then on there you will click a link and it will take you to our application portal. The only course that you need to apply outside of our, not apply directly to the university, is the MA Social Work. So for that you need to apply through UCAS, and the link is just there. Have you found your course? Well, make sure that you ensure that it's the right mode, level of study that you will be looking into. So if you're looking at a master's, does it come in that full-time, part-time or distance learning? Does it come as a PG cert, a PG dip or a single module? So you want to make sure you have all of your little bits correct, that you are selecting the right level of study, because you'll need to take this further when you're going through the application portal. That's where you'll need to indicate what level you want to study at, what mode you want to study at, what year you want to study at, all of those things. So make sure that you make a note of exactly what you want to do. There are no application fees when applying directly to the University of Salford. So what should you include in your application? You need to include 2 references. As you can see here, we mention an academic and a professional. We do understand that, of course, if you have been out of education for longer than 5 years, you may only have professional references. You might not have any touch with your academics anymore, so you can insert 2 professional references as well. Similarly, if you've literally just come out of university and you have academic references only, that is fine too. You can upload 2 academic references as well. You'll also need to upload a personal statement, which I'll get into a little bit shortly, the education and employment history, your transcripts and certificates, if available. We do understand that some of you may be applying at the time while you are still finishing your undergraduate degree, so if you do not have your transcripts or certificates available at the time of application, that is fine. You're able to upload them at a later point when you get them. There is a button, and I'll show you that in the application portal section in a moment, where you can still upload them after you have applied. So what you'd need to do is input information about what degree you're still doing, and you'd then put in your projected grade in there. Then you'd also need to provide proof of English language. All applicants need to provide proof of English language. That includes home students and international students. For home students, you are able to also just use your undergraduate degree. Similarly, if you're an international student who has studied in the UK and you've done your degree in English and you've been in the UK to study, so that's not a distance, not a long distance degree, it is one that you've studied in the UK, you can use that undergraduate degree as proof of English language. If you are an international student, proof of English language can also be provided with IELTS and our other accepted English language exam boards. So if you do type in English language into our website, it'll give you a whole page of the requirements that we have for yourselves. If you're an international student, we will also require a copy of your passport. So the application portal explained. Once you found your course, as I've mentioned, you click that apply button, you then create an account, you register on our application portal. Every time you log in, you'll be asked for a security code. That is completely normal, so just make sure that when you set it up, you use an email address that you have access to and that you won't forget the password to or anything like that. We also always recommend that you use a personal email rather than a university email address or a work email, just because it means that you will always have access to that information, that code that comes through. You can create an application, and then obviously you upload your supporting documents. You can upload them at the time while you're filling in everything, and again I'll go through that momentarily. Or if you have anything that's missing, for example the certificates and transcript, as I mentioned, you can upload those supporting documents at a later date, but just let them know that that's what you're currently studying. Then you can review your drafts from the hub as well as submit your application, and you can track your progress on there too. I will now move on to the portal explained part, where I walk you through the whole entire application portal. So having followed the instructions on the how to apply page, you'll be able to get to our application portal, which is this page here. You'll be asked to insert an email address just here and a password, and confirming your password. Additionally, you'll also need to confirm the code that's written here. Then you can select the register button. Once you've done that, you'll be sent an email to register, to just confirm that your email is the correct email address, and you'll be brought through to the application page. On there you'll need to confirm your name, as well as just make sure that that email address is correct and any additional information that it asks for. Please ensure that your name, your full name, first, surname, as well as middle name if you'd like to include it, is correct, spelt correct and everything, as when you come to the creating an application bit, these items will be automatically filled in and you will not be able to change them during that application point. So you want to ensure that your profile for this is all accurate. You're using the legal name that is on your passport or birth certificate, as well as you want to ensure that you have the correct email address. Again, this is where I highlight, please ensure that you use a personal email address, because this email address will also automatically be filled in that application. So you want to make sure you use one where you know you have access to and where you'll be able to pick up on the emails that come through, so any updates once you've submitted that application. So if you have already got an application portal in your name, so if you've previously applied already, you're able to use the sign-in area, where you'll just need to insert your email address and your password, and then you just click sign in. If you've forgotten your password, you can click the forgot password and it'll go to your email address as anything. When you do select these and you have typed in your personal information here and you've clicked sign in, you will again be sent that code, and that's a code that changes every time, and it's one of those that way you then get to sign in. So it's just a confirmation to make sure that you are trying to sign into the portal. So this is what it will look like when you get asked for enter your security code. Again, your security code is something that will be random every single time. You'll get a new one every time, and it will be sent to the email address that you have signed up with. And then once you insert that, you click verify and it will take you to your hub. So once you've clicked on that create a new application, you will be met with this new application screen, and this is where you'll go through everything from personal information all the way through to submitting your documentation, application submission, your references, etc., etc. I will go through all of these individually so you'll know each of the sections that we'll be going through. So just to let you know, this video will include some censorship. This is of personal information for GDPR purposes. So let's start. So your new application will start with personal information, and your first section will be on application declaration. So this is just to ensure that the application is for yourself and not on behalf of any other individual. If it is on behalf of another individual, please ensure to read the information above. So for the purpose of this, I will click I confirm that this application is for myself, because it is an application for myself. You then move on to your personal details. This is where I've mentioned before that your first name, your surname or family name, and your email address will automatically be pre-populated. If there are any mistakes within your email, your first or surname, spelling mistakes, or it's missing a name, please ensure that you exit this new application, you go to your profile settings and you change your settings to ensure that your first and surname are matching to your official document, so your passport or birth certificate. And just ensure that your email address is correct as well. Once you've gone and done that and saved that, you can enter back into create a new application, and you can create a new application. Because you haven't started anything, there won't be a draft. So your first item would be to select a title. There are various titles you can choose from Doctor, Madam, Miss, Mr, Miss, Professor. You can go select whichever one is most appropriate to yourself. So for myself, I will just choose Miss for now. If you have a middle name, feel free to insert that here. There is a free text box for you to do so. You can then move on to the date of birth. You're welcome to type this in or select the calendar icon to be able to navigate through the dates, months, and year. So if you want to do that, you can select this year button, and you can just keep selecting, clicking forwards and backwards between whichever year you want to be born in, or you are born in. Apologies, I should say. So whatever's on your passport or birth certificate, make sure that's what you are selecting. So for example, I could select 1999, January 1st, and I've entered that. This is only for show, so this is not any private information. So please ensure that you select the date of birth that is accurate to yourself. Then you select your gender as well. So if you select the drop-down box, you have the option of female, male, gender non-conforming, gender questioning, non-binary, and transgender. For the purpose of this, I'll just select female. And then lastly, you have the country of permanent residence that you will need to include. So you have a drop-down box. Whichever your country of permanent residence is, you can use the scroll bar to scroll and select, or you can type it in at the top. So for example, I can type in United Kingdom, and it already comes up. If you are from the United Kingdom, please do ensure that you select the right country in brackets. So I, for now, for this example, will use United Kingdom, England. Then what we ask you and make sure you do every time is click Save and Next. You don't want to end up selecting something different or leaving this page thinking you have done it without saving, because we've had that in the past where you get a certain way through your application and then you haven't clicked Save and then you've lost your progress. So please always ensure that you click Save and Next. So the next part you'll come to is the course selection. This is where you select which course you're interested in. As you can see down here, it's currently blank. It says that you need to use the search course button just up here in the right hand corner. And that is where it'll later pre-populate what course you're interested in, the type of study, mode of study, year of entry, month of entry, point of entry, all of those. This is what I mentioned earlier where I said you need to ensure that you have the right choices and you know what you're selecting. So once you've clicked on that, you'll get a little pop-out and it'll lead you to your course finder. So what type of study do you want to do? You'll have a selection drop-down box that you can select. So if you click that button, you can kind of see what area you might want to go into. Now, if you're looking at doing a master's, so your MSc, your MA, your PG DIP, your PG Cert, single module, those at level 7, you want to select postgraduate taught. Then you also have the option for year of entry. You can see there's many years of entries from previous still, but your next year of entry would be 2025. That includes anything from January, your May, April, June, or September intakes for next year. Those are the only intakes that are left, and they're all in 2025. Of course, if you're looking to apply for 2026, for example, January 2026, you can also already select 2026. So for the purpose of this, I will select 2025. And then you have to search your course title. So if you've used it before, you'll see a pre-populated box pop up. That is because I have selected things like this before. But for example, I will use that same example. I will type in nursing, and then I will click search. So whatever your title is, it could be built environment, it could be digital marketing, any of those, whatever your course title is, you just type it in, you click search, and then you can already see it shows all your entries. Then if you scroll down, you'll be able to see all the different types of courses, type of study, mode of study, degree type, year of entry, month of entry, and further information that you can select. So this is where it's really important that you know what you are looking for. So for example, here is nursing part-time, 3 years duration. There is nursing education. So it really depends which you are choosing. And there's quite a few selections. Depending on what you choose, there might be more, there might be less. So just ensure that you're selecting the right one. For the purpose of this, I will just select nursing, postgraduate, full-time, and 2025. So I'll just select that, and you click that red select button. So once you've selected it, you can see that there's an unselect. If you've accidentally selected the wrong option, just click it again, and it'll unselect it for you. Then you want to scroll to the bottom and say Save Selections. Now this should appear in your course selection area. You can see it says your course nursing, so just double check that it says nursing, that it says that it's a postgraduate taught degree, that it's full-time, part-time, or distance learning, depending on your choice, that the year of entry is the entry year that you expected, so 2025, and that the month of that entry is what you've expected. So in my instance, it was 2025 in September. The point of entry will sometimes be left blank, so please don't worry if that is left blank. If you've selected the wrong course, you can always remove it using the Remove Course button here. And then you want to select Save and Next. Once you have selected the Save and Next button, you'll be met with Contact Details page. So this is where you'll insert your permanent address. If you have a correspondence address that is different to your permanent address, you'll insert that there as well as a phone number, so that can be your mobile number, a daytime phone if you require it, as well as previous contact. So have you applied to the university before? If so, please insert that information. And if you have had a different previous surname, you'll also need to select that. So if there's, for example, if your birth certificate or your passport have a different name to what your name might be now, those kind of things. And additionally, if you've applied to a different, like if you have a university degree, so an undergraduate degree, for example, for the English language, that might be in a different name to what your passport is in now. So if you have a double-barreled name, or you've changed your name since you've gotten married, or if you've done a deed poll, those kind of things, you want to ensure you can prove that that certificate is you. So you need to include that information here. So you can see that I have changed my house number to 1234. I've inserted the street number. I've inserted the city that my permanent address is in. I've inserted a postcode that my permanent address is in, as well as your country. That should be pre-populated from what you've inserted in your personal information as country of residence. Again, if you then have something different, a different correspondence address, so for example, you might have a postcode, a PO box, or you may have a different permanent to maybe term time address if you're still a student. So it's all of those kind of items that you may want to fill in. But please obviously ensure that your permanent address is correct. And then you can just type in your phone number basically here. As you can see, I've just selected a random phone number. If you do have a daytime phone number, please obviously feel free to fill that in as well if that's another way of reaching you. And then I've just expanded these at the bottom. So as you can see, if you select yes, you'll have more pop-out questions that come. So it asks you, have you ever applied? You can select yes. If you have also studied there, you can click yes as well, or no if you have not. And then you would just input here your previous student ID if you know that. So I'm just going to select no for the purpose of this demonstration. If you've had a different name, as you can see, it'll ask you right here, it'll explain what you need, and then you can just enter your last name here. And later when you get to the supported documentation section, this is where you would submit that. Again, for the purpose of this demonstration, I will select no and click Save and Next. So it will now move you on to the residency details. This is where you fill in all of your information such as country of birth, your nationality. Again, you will see that your permanent residence area has been pre-populated for you. So to select your country of birth, you just click this drop-down menu again. You can type in where you have been born. So for example, I would put in United Kingdom and select United Kingdom. For nationality, same again. You click either on the drop-down or on the title, and then you can type in again United Kingdom or British, for example. So that will come up, that it comes up under British, and I just select that, and that would be the section done. And again, you click that Save and Next. If you do have any residency documentation that you may require to upload, for example, if you're an EU citizen and you have a settled or pre-settled status, or you're an international student who needs to upload, for example, you might have a biometric residency, the card that you might have, any residency details you believe that you may need to require, or for example, an international student who has to provide the passport. Down here in the left-hand corner, this is where you will upload your residency document. So this is where you'll need to click on that and upload your documents. So if you click on the upload residency document, again, this is only for international students or EU students who require this. If you click on that, you'll insert your file name. So for example, you may put your international passport, so your passport from whichever country you're from, or you may put EU settlement scheme, or any of those kind of key indicators. Just make it as clear as possible what the document is, so that we don't have to, like, the admissions team doesn't have to second guess. Just make it very clear, call it what the document is. And then you also want to select document type. So again, this is where you get that additional information here. So for example, proof of residency, last 3 years, refugee status, your passport, immigration, residency or visa documents, employment outside of the EEA. So those are kind of areas of what you would put in. And then you would choose your file. So that is obviously what you select from your document, and you click submit. Again, for the purpose of this application, I have selected United Kingdom for everything and that I am a British national, so you would not have to require to fill this in. So I'm just going to click on the X at the top. And then I'll click Save and Next. This is where you then move on to the education part of the application. So this is where you have to put all of your information in. As you can see, it says, please note English language qualifications will be covered in the next section, so not this section. Again, English language, I'll get to it in a moment. So this is where we literally just want your undergraduate degrees or any other degrees that you may have, any education that you may have. So whether that's your undergraduate degree, if you have an undergraduate degree and you've already done a master's, so you want to include both of those. Basically, any higher education qualifications that you have education-wise. Okay, so this is where you put that in. And again, you'll be able to see later, it'll come up with subject, qualification, achieved grade, name of institution, date attended from, and date attended to. And I'll get to that for anybody who has not yet graduated. So you want to click up here on the Add Educational Qualification. So you'll then be met with this education details pop-out, where you need to include all of your information. So for example, you'll want to select previous university, because at a master's level, you'll need to have studied an undergraduate degree or equivalent, most likely an undergraduate degree. It'll say on your course page which, and then you select the previous university button here. Then you can insert your name of institution where you've studied. So for example, I will pop in that I studied at the University of Salford. And then I will need to insert which qualification I received. So if you have received a qualification, I'll for example put in that I got a BSc with honours. So O-H-O-N-S. So BSc with honours. It may be that you got a BA, that you got a BA with honours. It really depends on what degree type you got. So you'd have to type that in. It's basically that first start of your qualification. And then you get to put in your subject. So for example, I may put nursing. And then that is the title that I had of the degree. If you are currently still studying a degree, please insert the detail as good as you can. So for example, you will know that you're currently doing a degree at the university, so you'd still select previous university. You're still going to select the name of the institution where you're studying, and then select of what you will hopefully be qualifying with. So is it a BSc with honours? Is it a BA with honours? And then still put in the subject. And when you come to this attend from and to, you would insert when you've attended, so when you started your year, and then whenever you believe roughly your graduation time will be. So that's kind of when you put a rough date on it. For anybody who has already graduated, please insert your date from and then your date to, from when and to you've attended. If you cannot remember when you've attended to, your certificate will usually have a date on it, and then you just select that date. So for example, I will select that I started studying in 2021 in March, and on the 3rd I started, or for example, to make more realistic, September the 1st, for example. And then I can say that I'm graduating this year in July on the 20th, for example. That is my to and from. That is my estimated guess of when. So you can kind of see that this is obviously was this year, but if you are doing it in the future, you can still select the next year. And for example, I can say that I'm graduating that July instead. So you can insert the information as and what is needed. For the purpose of this, I will just insert that for now. And then you have your achieved grade that you need to complete. Again, if you have your grade, please insert the correct one by just typing it in like so. If you don't have your certificates or anything yet, just insert your projected grade. So just see what you've gotten throughout, speak with your tutors, and just see what your projected grade may be. And then you want to hit that submit button. So now you can see that that information is underneath the education column. You can check everything is matching up. If you've made any mistakes, you can click the edit button just here. And if you want to remove a education qualification, you can just click the remove button just underneath the edit. To upload your evidence, again, it is in this bottom left-hand corner where it says upload education documents. If you select that, it will pop up with another pop-up portal. And this is where you'll have to name your qualification, and you want to choose your document type, and you want to fill it, choose it from your desktop. It does also state which the recommended file types are. So those are PDF, docx, PNG, JPEG, and a zip file. We usually recommend PDFs because they're a lot easier to open, and it's easier for the admission team to gain access to it. But all of those are recommended files. You can use whichever file you want. Other file types are accepted. However, for some security reasons, some of the files that aren't listed there, the file types, they may not be able to open them because it could be that the firewall might block them. So please do use one of those recommended file types. So either PDF, docx, PNG, JPEG, and zip file. So the zip.zip. So those are the options that you have, okay? And always make sure you read through those blocks of text. So for example, I have now gone and pre-populated this information. So you can see that I've called my name file BSc with Honours Nursing, so that it's a title of my degree. That's what I've decided to call it to make it clear. I have selected from the drop-down option that it is an education certificate and transcript. And then I've gone and attached it, and you'll see that it's attached when it has the name of what your file is. So mine, for example, is called Qualification Example, but yours will have whatever name you have selected. So it could be the title of your degree, and then it says .pdf. That's the recommended file type that I have selected. And then I would click Submit. So once you've clicked the Submit button, you will notice that there's nowhere additional where you can see a file or anything like that. That is because once you come to the supporting documentation area, that is where all of those bits will appear. At this point, I will select Save and Next. And this is where it comes to English language. Again, as you can see, that the proficiency in English language is essential to studying at the University of Salford, and all students, including those who are UK applicants, must complete the section. So you have to be able to upload certificates for your English language qualification for verification purposes. If you are an international student, again, this is where you would use the English language page on our English language requirement page on our website to find out what English language requirement you can use. And this is potentially, for example, where you would upload your IELTS. If you've done an undergraduate degree for UK and for home and international applicants, if you've done an application in the UK, it was taught in English and at a at a British university. So for example, if you've gone and studied previously at the University of Salford, you have completed your degree, you're able to use this as English language proof. So you're able to use that. Alternatively, if you don't have your certificates or any of that yet, you need to provide your English language. You can submit a GCSE and A-levels here. Additionally, it could just be something that if you're a home student, for example, you're able to upload later as part of, similarly, if you haven't graduated yet, part of your education, that's kind of where you'd fill that in. So you can add your qualification just here, and you can select one of the many options that we have. But for example, what I will put in is I will pop in that I've done a degree before. So for example, I can put in bachelor. And you can see that it says UK bachelor's or master's degree. So that's kind of the option that you would select here. So that's the option that I will select because I have indicated that my education previously has included a undergraduate degree in the UK taught in English. Then you can obviously select if you've completed it or not. Again, if you are currently waiting to receive your certificates, just keep it selected as no and enter your expected completion date just here. For myself, I will put yes because obviously I inserted earlier that I have completed it, and then I will put that I have completed it in July on the 20th. And then again, similar to the last one, I'll select that I got a 2-1 and I'll submit that. So you can see it's just here at this point. Again, at the bottom it does have an Upload English Language Documents button. So if you do click on that, you'll have to insert a file name and a file type, which are English language documents, and you choose to upload your file. This is if you're using your degree, you'll reinsert those files here. If you're using IELTS qualifications or anything like that, your scanned copy will have to go in here and you can kind of submit it there. Again, please read over what the attached files should be, a maximum size-wise, recommended file types, etc. Please do ensure that you read through that and make sure that your file is accurate. And then I can just click exit if I don't have it yet. And this is for the purpose. I'll show you later what will happen if you haven't included it. And then I'll just click save and next. So at this point, you'll come to the professional membership and other professional qualifications section. So if, for example, I have graduated with a nursing degree, I'll probably be a registered nurse at this point, so I would put in that professional membership. This can also be, for example, if you've studied psychology and you're part of the BPS, you enter your professional membership here if you have signed up for one. If you're not signed up for one, don't worry, you can leave this section blank, that is fine. And this is then also where you'll include your employment information. So are you currently employed? If so, please indicate yes and then input the information here. If it's a no, you can move on to your next question, which is, do you have previous employment details? Again, if you select yes, you'll have to input the information here. So this is just for us to be able to identify what employment you might have. So, for example, it could be a case that if you're applying for a master's and you're currently working within the industry of the master's that you're doing, this is really great for us to be able to see the experience that you may have. If you don't, please don't worry, that is fine as well. You'll be able to bring through why you want to study a master's degree and your academic skills that you'll have from undergraduate degree or your passion in your personal statement. So you'll be able to bring that through here. But if you do have any employment history, please don't hesitate to include that here. Showcase yourself and show us what experience and knowledge you may have outside of academia. But you can always click save and next as well. I have just selected no for both just to show you what will basically happen for that. Like I said, this is just a nominated, if you wish to nominate anyone. So this is just if you have a guardian, a tutor, or a parent who needs to be a nominee. I'm going to select no because I've created this application on my behalf and I will be the one who will be dealing with it. But if you really feel that you need a nominee, you can obviously feel free to insert this here. But I will just select it as a no for the example. And I'll click save and next, which will move you on to your referee information and your personal statement. So for your referee, again, we advise a professional and an academic, but you can have two academics and you can have two professionals as well. So to insert that, please ensure that you check with your tutors and your professionals. So if it's a line manager or a general manager or anything like that, please ensure that they know that you are inserting the information here, because it will not only ask for their names, but it will also ask for the organization, the position that they have, the relationship to you, the address. So this is, if you're, for example, using a professional one, this will probably be your office address, but it does ask for their phone number and email address, and this is personal information to them. So you want to ensure that you ask their permission before you submit this. And then you just want to go through populating this and then clicking the submit button. So for example, I've gone and pre-populated it. I've just inserted John Smith, who's my manager. I've put organization name as the name of the organization. He was my line manager. This is my inputted fake address, my phone number and email address, and then I'll click submit. So you can now see that this has been pre-populated down here. If I want to remove them, I can always remove them or edit them at any point. And then you do the same for your second referee. Again, it is a question that you please do insert two. So you'll have to insert another one, but for the purpose of this demonstration, I'll only insert one. And then you'll have your personal statement information that you'll need to input. Please do have a look at your page for what personal statement information they require of you. Now, what I highly recommend is please use the upload personal statement section and write it on a separate Word document. You can upload it as a Word document or as a PDF or one of the other options. Please do not select that follow the link. That is a lot of that will be to do with UCAS applications. You can use it for an advice guidance if that's something that you're interested in. But because your course page will tell you exactly everything that they're going to ask and want to know about why you want to study the master's degree, I highly recommend having that page open. So your course page of all the bits that they want, you can even copy and paste them into a Word document and then completing it on a Word document. They may even ask for a character or a number limit, and again I'll come to that shortly in the next couple of slides. But I highly recommend, please can you upload your personal statement just here. So you'll want to do that just here. And if you click on it, just like everything else, you'll insert your file name, your document type, and you'll choose your document. So that I ask that you do that over clicking and following the link, because that will link you to a UCAS application. So for example, if you are doing the MA social work, that is something that you can do. But again, check that course page, make sure what they're asking that you're doing it in the correct way, because they may be also asking for it in a specific format, which is why I say if you do it in your own Word document, you're going to be able to make sure you have that correct format. So again, for this purpose of this demonstration, I have gone and pre-populated the information. So I've called it insert name, so insert your name and call it your personal statement. So whatever name you have, I just like making sure that that is clear, that this is for myself. And this is my personal statement. Then obviously your document type, you can only select personal statement. So that's quite an easy decision. So just click on personal statement. And then obviously I have chosen my file. It is the personal statement example. That's what I've called it for the purpose of this demonstration. For yourself, please ensure that you call it something clear. So it could just be the same thing as you called the file name at the top. And then I have used a .docx, so a Word document, as part of my application, the file type. So again, after having clicked submit, you can see nothing has changed here. That is perfectly fine because it will appear in the supporting document section. If you have any specific documents, so from your references, so maybe your reference if you're, for example, with a tutor or something along those lines, that they have already written out a little bit of a reference about you, so that you basically, where they talk about who you are as a person, your work ethic, all of those things, you're more than welcome to ask that referee for a statement as well. Obviously, we will have their name, so we can always reach out to them. But if that is something that they are doing, that they'll provide you with a reference document, you're able to upload that reference document just at the bottom here where it says upload reference document, and you will just follow the same steps as we've talked through in the previous examples. And again, as always, you want to click Save and Next. So you can see that from the references and personal statement, it has taken out that under 18 specific information. This is because in my personal information area, I have indicated that I am over the age of 18. So it has moved us on immediately to equal opportunities. And this is where we'll ask for you to fill in your disability information, ethnicity information, and any care leaver support information that you may need to provide us with. So with regards to the disability information, if you experience a physical or sensory disability, medical condition, medical health condition, so diagnosed or undiagnosed, or specific learning difficulties such as dyslexia, or dysphoria, or if you experience any disability or conditions which has a significant impact upon your day-to-day life and or the ability to study, you may want to tell us about this so we can discuss this with you with a support team available. So we have a specific disability and inclusion and learner support team, as well as a wellbeing and counselling team. I would recommend that at the time of your application, so at this point, you would include that, just because it means that our disability team, so our disability and inclusion team, will be able to reach out to you before your term time starts. We're able to sit down with you, ensure that we have a plan in place. So anything where you may need extending circuit lenses. So for example, we'll put a plan together. If you have dyslexia, it may take you longer to read certain articles. It may take you longer to write an assignment, so you'll get additional support with that. For example, that will sometimes be a week or two extension. Those types of things will ensure that if you have any exams, that the exam conditions will be supportive of you, where you may get extra time, a separate room, or maybe even if you need a specific laptop or specific, basically specific equipment, that we are able to provide that for you. They'll also be able to speak to you immediately about the disability inclusion allowance. So that is something additionally that you would have access to before your term time starts. Of course, you do not need to let us know at this point, but we always highly encourage it. The way you let us know is by clicking on the drop-down box and saying yes, no, or prefer not to say. Again, you can select any of those. If you prefer not to say, that is fine as well. But we do encourage it just because it means that we can help you from day one. So we really want to make sure that you are successful at your master's degree and to complete this qualification. So do let us know. So for example, if you click yes, it'll ask you for the type of disability, and then you can select one from the drop-down menu. So for example, if you select deaf or hearing impaired, this is where we would then ensure that you have a VSL interpreter. If you are blind or partially sighted, this is where we'll ensure that you have the equipment that you may need. So if it's something for you to be able to have your documents read out loud, those types of things. So you can choose any of these. If you are, a wheelchair user, we'll ensure that we can pinpoint you to exactly where we have our ramps, where you're able to use our lifts, and all of those kind of items. So this is where you can select any kind of area that you fall under. And again, you have that option again to prefer not to say. You can say that you have a disability, but you can prefer not to say what type of disability, and the team will still contact you about that. If you select no, there will be no further questions asked, and similarly with if you select prefer not to say. So for the purpose of this, I'll just select no. With ethnicity, again, there is a drop-down list where you can choose any of the options that apply to yourself, as well as not known and prefer not to say. So you can select what you want at this point. So for example, I will select other white background. And then you also have carer leaver support. So generally for anyone who has been in care of their local authority for a period of 13 weeks or more around their 16th birthday is classed as a carer leaver. So you should have been in foster care or a residential accommodation, so you would follow that. If you need more information about that, there is a link that you can click, and you can also email us if you're not sure and you need some support. So if you've been a care leaver, you can indicate that just here. If you select yes, again, it'll ask you how long. If you select no, no further questions will be asked. And if you say information declined, again, no further information will be asked of you. So for the purpose of this example, I will just select no and click save and next. So this will then lead you onto your finance. So we will just ask you to provide details of how you intend to pay. So this is not the end all and be all. So this is basically you just let us know roughly what you're thinking or how you're thinking of paying. So whether that is through self-funding, whether that is through a scholarship, or whether that is through the Students' Loan Company, so Student Finance England, Wales, Scotland, etc. So that's kind of how you indicate that here. There are quite a few different options that you may have. So for example, you can select, if you're self-funding, you can select my parents' guardian will be paying for my tuitions. You can talk about if you are doing a research project, obviously this is where you kind of input that. There are various options that you would be selecting. If you are doing you are paying your tuition fees by a Student Finance England or Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, you will be using a student loan company. So to pay your tuition fees, that is the one that you'd like to select. But again, if you select any of these at the moment, or if you don't even know how you're going to pay, you can select that as well. At this point, it is just details of how you intend to pay. Your actual details of how you will pay will come at point of registration. So that's where you tell us actually how are you going to pay. So it may be the case that you've indicated that you pay by yourself, but at registration it'll come to the point where you say, actually, I'm going to use a master's loan, so I'll pay with a student loan company. Or it could be a case that you've said, I'll pay with a student loan company, but actually I'll pay it myself now. So this is just how do you intend to pay. So for example, I'll select, I'll be using student loan company. And that's all. And then you just select Save and Next, and you'll be brought to the student documentation section. So this is where you can see all of the documents that you've uploaded, mandatory documents that you would have had to submit, but as well as other documents required to assess your application. So you can see I have not selected or not provided references, but I've also not provided my English language. If you are also, again, you haven't graduated yet, and you haven't got your qualification, it would indicate, for example, there that your education detailed documents have not been uploaded either. So they can go in red, and it's great as a little note of, oh, I thought I had uploaded it, if it's something you thought you've uploaded. If it's something you haven't uploaded, for example, your English language, your references, your qualifications, those kind of things, this is where it will give you a flag for it, but you're still able to continue to submit your application because it's something that you can provide at a later date. Again, with references, if you haven't supplied a reference document from your referees, I always encourage that you do include that. It'll be a case that the admissions team will have to reach out to them. And again, that is where you really need them to be able to answer, and you don't want that to be like a fall down. So I always recommend having a reference document from your referees and uploading that, because it makes it a little bit simpler. And if the admission team then need to reach out to them, at least they have some information as well for me, what they've said. But it will always flag it here. So don't worry. If it flags it, you're able to upload it at a later point as well. If you're happy with everything that's here, or you think you need to upload any additional documents, again, this is also where I'll tell you if you've uploaded your passport for any international students, or your EU settlement scheme stuff. This is kind of where it'll indicate that. You click Save and Next, and you'll move on to your application submission area. So this is where you'll have your little bit to read through of you've now reached the end of the form. And if you click Submit, that will be you submitting your document, and that you're basically saying that everything you've provided us with is accurate. Again, those missing documentations, you can upload them later, and I'll show you how. If you're wanting to take a break and just wait, you can click Save as a Draft and then come back to it at a later point to review everything again. Alternatively, if you're happy with it, all you have to do is click the Submit button just here, and then you'll submit your application. Once you have submitted your application, in the top left-hand corner, under Submitted Applications, you'll see a 1 that has changed from a 0 to a 1 now. You'll also see any draft applications that you may have saved. So if you haven't submitted it, it may still say 0. If you save the draft, it'll say 1 draft, for example. I know mine currently says 6, but that's kind of what you'll have there. And then also under Submitted Applications, it'll tell you right here that you have submitted an application. So it'll tell you your reference number, your banner, code, what course you're doing, so nursing, date of entry, all of those things. You're able to still view your application as well. And this is where you have that upload document. So this is where you can upload any of your additional documents. You just click into that and you upload your documents. If there's any inquiries that you want to make, if you want to check any decisions and responses and offer documents, this is kind of where you come and do that. So this is where you'll be able to track your stuff as well. So after this explanation of the portal, I'll move on to personal statement, as I mentioned earlier. So your personal statement, again, all of the information of everything that you need to include is on the course page. So I highly recommend have a look at those bullet points, have a look at exactly what they might want to know from you. But most of the personal statements should be a minimum of 1 side and a maximum of 2 sides of A4. Again, please check those course pages. Some courses may have specific character limits like 500 words or a certain amount of characters, but that can be found on that requirements aspect of the course page. So do check that. Don't just blindly go and write a side or 2, because it could be the case that after 500 words, they stop reading. So you want to ensure that you're meeting the correct specific limit on the personal statement. So like I said, some may be one side of A4. There might be some courses that allow you to do 2 sides, but there might just be some courses that say 500 words and that's it. So double check and just ensure that you're setting out why the course is right for you within this, your career aspirations and your experience and interests, but also the other kind of aspects they have on that course page. What the admissions team really want to know is they want to know about you. They want to know, why have you chosen this course? What are your current skills, your current experiences, your qualities to make you a perfect match for this master's degree? And how does what you've either done in your undergraduate degree, so if you're coming straight out of an undergraduate degree, or even if you have any professional experience, how do those skills that you have match the requirements for your chosen subject? So how does that kind of all match together and basically go onto your chosen course? So how does the knowledge that you currently have, your skills that you currently have, match your chosen subject? Also include your motivation. Why are you looking and why are you wanting to do this next area, so the subject area? Or is it for a challenge? Is it for career progression? What are you kind of hoping to get out? If you're doing one of those non-cognitive degrees, what is your motivation behind changing the path that you're going into? Really tell us about yourself. So your chosen course is that continuation of this personal statement. So tell us why you're passionate about your subject, as I said, link to your own goals, link to your professional training if that is included, or your future career plans, or if you are already in a career, link to how this will improve your professional stance. All of those kind of things. Why are you passionate about this course? What is the best part about the course that you want to do? It might even be worth picking out specific modules. Like if you've had a look through what modules you'll be doing throughout the year and each trimester, is there a specific module that stands out that you're really excited to study? Tell us why you're interested in that module, in the overarching topics. Tell us all about you and your passions. Again, what you've studied previously, whether that is undergraduate, if you've done a postgraduate degree already as well, you can let us know. If it's personal experience, if it's professional experience, let us know all of those things. We really want to know what makes you tick. Why do you want to go and study this course? Again, if you're applying for an unrelated subject, so a non-cognitive degree, again, tell us why you're making this change. Is it a personal reason? Is it a professional reason? Is it just because you want to know a little bit more about something else? You just want to widen your horizon? That is perfectly fine. So, just tell us everything, why you're applying for this. And again, ensure you make it focused and that your statement is easy to read. So do avoid any unnecessary jargon, big words. Make it personal, make it you. Also, don't use ChatGPT. Our admissions team, they read through a lot of personal statements and they can easily pick out if somebody has used ChatGPT, plagiarized a personal statement. They are very experienced admissions team, so please make sure it's about you. This ChatGPT will not make it personalized to yourself, only you can do that. So please ensure that you make it focused, make it about you, and make it about what you're passionate about, what your skills are, what your knowledge is, and show us why you want to study, not only at Salford, but this specific course. Why do you want to do this course? Then we'll move on to portfolios and interviews. So not every course requires a portfolio or an interview to attend. It will be noted down in your requirements section again, so that's kind of underneath that personal statement area. It'll say whether or not you have a portfolio or an interview to do. Additionally, if you haven't applied with one but you require one, the admissions team will reach out to you. So if your course does require a portfolio and interview as part of the application process, you will need to basically submit what they're asking. So it's worth moving away from that stereotypical portfolio. Some will ask you to submit potentially a portfolio of images. So for example, if you're going into fashion or anything like that, you may need to apply the typical, here are all of my ideas, this is how my creative brain works, this is how I got from point A to point B. But there's also portfolio types like, as I mentioned before, the screen acting. That is a portfolio if you have to submit a show reel. Or if you're going into anything film or journalism, you may need to provide something there. So do check where you'll require a portfolio. And do check what kind it is, because it might not be the typical one that you envision of like a big pieces of paper of everything. It could just be that it might need to be a video, or it may be showing off how you edit certain things, all of these kind of bits. So it's well worth having a look on the course page of how it will be. And again, you'll need to see what type, but also what format, what length, and what file type you'll have to upload. So that is very key. Have a look there. They will lay out everything that you will need to include. But you will need to obviously show that you can showcase, if you are asked for a portfolio, showcase how your current skills, how you currently will be able to obviously progress and go forth in this master's degree. But again, it's all laid out there. Please have a look. If you are required to attend an interview, again, the course page will indicate this. But what will happen is once you've applied for your course, you'll be contacted by the admissions team for an interview date and a time. So they will contact you, and within that once they have a date or a time that's allocated to you, so they will allocate those to you, you'll also receive a preparation document. And that basically has your specific course, so it has like a drop-down list. You'll have to find your course, click on your course, and it tells you everything that you need to prepare for your interview on there. So you'll be able to see kind of what you may need to wear, if there's anything specific you may need to wear. So for example, if you're looking at going into nursing, it may be more likely that you'll need to dress in a smart way, so that you have to present yourself, in a specific way, or it could be that they may focus on a specific aspect. So it's those kind of things. You have to have a read through that documentation. You'll be sent it with plenty of time, but you want to ensure that you have a read through over that. Okay. So the next, I'll move on to considering an alternative intake. So a lot of our courses actually have multiple intakes each year, which means you don't actually have to wait till September to begin your course. A lot of our courses start in September, as that is our main cycle, but there are some that you can do in January, in April, May, and June. The April and May do apply to home students only, so if you're an international student, it could be a January or a June intake that you'll be looking at. There are different pages for home and international students to visit because of that April, May. But what I highly recommend is having a look, if you're interested in alternative intake, having a look at those web pages and basically just seeing whether this is something you want to consider. So a lot of times with alternative intakes as well, it's if you want to start it sooner than September. So for example, if you are interested and you say, oh, actually I want to start in January, I will start then. As you've seen before, the non-cognate nursing, that is only in January, so that would be your intake. So it's one of those where you do have to look into when your course actually starts, and does it offer more than one intake, or is it a specific intake? And this is how you can find that out. This swiftly moves me into the application deadlines. So home students, you do not have a strict deadline that applies to you. However, we do advise that you apply at least 4 weeks before your start course. This is because the popular courses may close early for new applications, so you don't want to have missed your opportunity to apply for them if they've reached capacity. So I would probably even suggest, if you know that you want to apply for a course, apply as early as you can. Don't wait for those 4 weeks. Do it much earlier than 4 weeks, because you don't want to miss out on that opportunity. Again, as we've covered, some of those courses are going to require portfolios or interviews, so you want to give you enough time to complete these, to prepare for these, so you just want to be setting off on the right foot. And then also, there are different intakes, so different intakes means different application deadlines, so you will really have to look out. For example, for the January intakes, I would recommend apply as early as you can. It's a popular course, so potentially those 4 weeks might not be where you want to start applying. You might want to apply earlier, those kind of things. So that's kind of example-wise for home students why you should apply way before those 4 weeks, but at least before those, at least 4 weeks before the start of the course. For international students, we do have strict deadlines during a specific application window. This is to accommodate CAS and visa deadlines. So to find a little bit more information out about that and when your specific deadlines for everything are, visit that webpage that I've popped on there. Even if you just look up on our website, deadlines for international students, you'll be able to find the pages there as well. So you will have strict deadlines, but again, that is to accommodate CAS and visa deadlines. So we're now going to move on to the fees and finance part of this recorded presentation. We will start off with the financing your master's degree. So basically it'll be everything around how much a Salford cost, your master's loan explained, self-funding, scholarships, bursaries and additional support, as well as we'll do a little deep dive into the NHS Learning Support Fund for those of you who are interested in a health course. So how much does it cost to study at Salford? For a full-time course as a home student, the lowest tuition fee starts at £8,550. Please do check the course page to see the exact fees for each of your courses. So depending on what you're interested in, their course price may vary subject to subject, as some courses will be more expensive because of the labs that you might do, field trips, things like that that you may need to, that basically whatever is part of your modules and part of your course. This then also means that although your part-time price may start at £1,425 per 30 credits, this does vary depending on how much your full-time course costs. So the best way to figure out how much your part-time will cost is dividing your full-time course price by the number of modules that you do, and then you can figure out how many 30 credits, basically how much it costs for each 30 credit that you do, and that'll be your part-time kind of funding. So if you're doing a full master's worth 180 credits, you'll be able to figure out how many 30 credits you'll have to pay for your part-time funding. The price for distance learning can also vary depending course from course. This could be that some of them are the same exact price as how it would be on campus, but there may be others that will differ. So please do check that as well. If you are interested in distance learning, make sure you check to see what your price will actually be. For for international or EU students, if you don't class as home fees, your prices will start for full-time masters from £15,750. Again, exact fees are listed on the course page. So if you do find the course that you're interested in, click that requirements button, and just underneath your requirements, that's where it will say how much your course will cost at Salford. So we'll move on to this postgraduate student finance England aspect of this presentation. This will cover an overview only for Student Finance England. So if you are looking to find out more about Student Finance Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, please do visit those web pages. Student Finance is only for home students. So if you're not eligible for UK home fees, this Student Finance aspect of this presentation will not be valid for you. So you're welcome to skip forward to the self-funding part of this video. Please also note, obviously, we won't be commenting on anything individual eligibility, and we won't give any individual examples. So if you do have any questions regarding your personal application or eligibility, do contact Student Finance England, or if it is Wales, Scotland or Northern Ireland that you are looking at funding you, please contact those as well. So we'll be moving on to the Master's Loan Overview. So this page will give you a little bit of information about some key points. Basically, the word maximum that you can see here for the maximum loan that you can get is £12,471, is basically the highest sum that can be taken out for your master's loan. So applicants do have the option not to take the full maximum loan sum. You are able to take out only the amount that your course will cost. So for example, if your course will cost £8,550, you can choose to take out only those £8,550. The loan will be paid in 3 termly instalments, so 33%, 33% and 34% if you are doing a full-time master's. So that is kind of how that loan will be paid. And they will send you a letter exactly with payment dates once your application has been approved. If you're studying part-time, that loan will obviously be split in half and over the different trimesters, and it will be split over the 2 years or 3 years depending on how long your degree is. Again, you'll have that payment letter of exactly the dates and what you'll be able to get. If you want some more information about that, please do visit the Student Finance England area. So unlike an undergraduate degree, this loan is paid directly to you, so not to the university. So you are going to be responsible for setting up your payment plan with the university, and you're going to be responsible for paying your tuition fee. So it won't be that the Student Finance England sum will automatically go to the university. It'll go into your bank account and you will have to pay this off. So you must set up a payment scheme with the university at the time of registration. So you have to do that then. For obviously those full-time, as I said, full-time courses, you'll set up the payment plan then with the 3 termly installments. And for those doing longer than a year, it'll be divided and you'll basically indicate that. And because you'll have to do registration twice, you'll basically indicate both times your master's loan and how you will pay. So again, it is different to undergraduate level, and I'll go a bit more into that with regards to the eligibility as well. Again, you are in charge of how much you want to use of that loan, so whether that is the £12,471, if it is only to cover your tuition fee, and it is your case as well to kind of indicate to us as a university how you will pay for your tuition, and also you will have to pay the tuition fees to us. But anybody who can do maths, if you're paying £8,550 for a degree, you'll notice there is going to be some money left over if you take out the full maximum sum. That money you can use as you see fit. So if you need to pay your bills, or if you want to go and get a food shop with that, that is your loan. Because you're taking out the full loan, which is something you'll need to repay anyway, and I'll get into that later, you're able to use that towards, if you want to use it towards some rent, towards some food payments, cost of living, that kind of stuff, you're welcome to do that. That will be your money and you get to use it how you wish. But again, remember, you have to pay those tuition fees. So what's also important to point out, unlike undergraduate study, you will not have a separate tuition fee and maintenance loan. It is one loan, so everybody is going to get the same exact amount. So doesn't matter what your income is or anything like that, everybody has access to the same amount of money. So we will move on to master's loan eligibility. You will not be eligible if you have already completed a master's qualification or qualification that is higher. So this includes if you have done your previous master's without a loan. So even if you haven't got a loan the first time round, this time you would not be eligible for it because you've already had the opportunity to study a master's at a previous time. If you also have a qualification equal to or higher than a master's, so for example if you've done a PhD or if you've done a master's by research or anything like that, you will not be eligible for the loan. Eligibility is also dependent on the course, so it has to be a full standalone master's with 180 credits. So you will not be eligible if you're looking at doing a postgraduate diploma, a postgraduate certificate, or a single module. It has to be a full standalone master's. That word full standalone master's does not refer to doing it full time, but it is the reference to those 180 credits. So it's called a full standalone master's because it's those 180 credits. You can do a part-time full standalone master's, for example. So whether you do it part-time or full-time, as long as it is a full standalone master's, you're eligible for the loan. If you are doing distance learning for a full standalone master's, you will be able to get the loan as well, but you have to be living in England on the first day of your first academic year on the course. So you will be able to kind of do that, but you have to live in this country. So a lot of times this loan for distance learning students is if they are serving in the armed forces, or if you have a spouse, a civil partner, or dependent parent that you're living with who are in the armed forces. Highly recommend having a look on the government website exactly what the distance learning eligibility loan will require. So that is only a snippet of it, but I do advise having a look through it. With regards to exactly the kind of courses that you can do as part of the master's loan, that will include an MA, an MSc, an LLM, an MRes, or an MPhil. There is a longer list on the government web pages, but those are the courses that we teach here at the university. So, and you cannot get a master's loan if you're eligible for the NHS bursary. I will get into that in a later point. Or if you get a social work bursary. Do check the government website for this. So there could be a case if you are looking and doing a health course, for example, nursing or something, and you're already eligible for the NHS bursary and you're going to receive the NHS bursary, then you will not be eligible for this master's loan. It will be one or the other that you will receive. Similarly for social work as well. Again, I'll get into this in the next slide, but there may also be some courses that are pre-reg courses at an undergraduate level where you might get undergraduate funding instead. So this is where we move on to the next part of the master's loan eligibility with specific courses. You can see that we have two course areas here. One of them is the Masters of Architecture. So if you're doing the Masters of Architecture Part 2 qualification full-time, you're required to apply for undergraduate funding support. Your course must be accredited by the Architect Registration Board, so the ARB, to be eligible for it. There is more information on this on the government website, and again, we cannot comment on any specific instances or anything like that, so I highly recommend looking at the government website and also contacting the student's finance team. With healthcare and social work, you cannot get a master's loan if you are starting a full-time postgraduate pre-registration course, as you'll be eligible for undergraduate funding. So for example, if you're looking at doing a nursing midwifery pre-registration course, you'll be eligible for undergraduate funding, so you'll not be able to receive that master's loan. So we move on to the next part of the master's loan eligibility, which is your age, nationality and residency status. You have to be under the age of 60 on your first day of the start of the course. So on that first day, you have to be under 60. So if your start date is the 1st of September, on that 1st of September, for example, you have to be under the age of 60. After that first, it might not matter. You will need to see what date, obviously, your first day is. You'll receive a timetable and timeline for when your first day is, and for that, you'll have to be under the age of 60. With regarding to your nationality and your residency status, you have to be a UK national or Irish citizen, have a settled status under the EU settlement scheme, or have indefinite leave to remain. You will normally live in England. You've been living in the UK, the Channels Islands, or the Isle of Man for 3 years in a row before the first day of your course. Again, it does go into a lot more detail about that as well on the government webpage. But yes, to be eligible, you have to meet those criterions just there. And you will have to obviously have stayed in the UK for 3 years in a row. Please note that this does not include temporary absences such as holidays. The government website does go into detail about how long that will be, so please check out that website as well. So, and just to clarify, Irish citizens do not need to apply for a visa or the EU settlement scheme. The government website makes that very clear, and you are eligible for the master's loan. And then lastly, to cover off a little bit more about the master's loan application. So you will only need to apply once for the master's loan, even if you are applying for more than 2 academic years. Basically, on your application, you will indicate how long your course will be for, what course you're doing, all of those aspects. When you apply, you can do this either online or by post, and you will need to provide proof of identity. If you are a UK national, you must include your UK passport details. Please do not send in the passport itself. It just requires the passport details. If you do not have a UK passport or it has expired, you can use your birth or adoption certificate. Again, please do not send in the actual original copy. Rather, send in a copy of the birth or adoption certificate. But for more information, please visit the government website. If you are an EU national and have a pre-settled or settled status under the EU settlement scheme, you will need to provide this in terms of your share code. So you'll need to provide a share code to prove your immigration status and identity. When applying for your degree, you will need to see what the academic year for the course is. So for example, will it be 2025 to 2026, 2026 to 2027, or have you applied for 2024, 2025? That's kind of what you'll be looking at. Most of you will be looking probably at 2025 to 2026 as an academic year. So that means any of those application windows that I mentioned earlier for next year. So January, April, May, June, September, most of those will be 2025 to 2026. So we would advise keeping an eye, obviously, on the government webpage as well, because the application for master's loan will usually open around May, June time. And you will obviously need to fill all that out, and your application process can take up to 2 weeks, so please do that as early as possible. Once you have obviously submitted your application, again, the Student Finance England team will be reviewing that application, and that will take up to 2 years. The process is much simpler than at an undergraduate level because it is no means tested, so it means that you don't have to send off your payslips or other details confirming your household income. If you are eligible, all students get the same amount. So basically that is all that you'll need to do. So do have a look on the Student Finance England and the government website for a little bit more information around how you apply for it, for your application for that. So you will need to input the university details, your course details that has not changed from an undergraduate stage. So you will need to input that you, for example, would come to the University of Salford and that you will be studying a master's in X degree. So you will need to indicate that. The reason for that is so that they can match you up with the right university with the funding, so that they can see, oh, you have actually an application or you've been made an offer here. That makes sense. This kind of lines up in the back end. Of course, if you're applying to more than one master's, please indicate on your master's loan application the university you're most likely to go to with the course that you're most likely to go to. If you end up not getting in or you change your mind, you're able to still change that application at a later point, but you do want to ensure that you do it with plenty of time. So you do not want to change that after the registration point, okay? So then we move on to the master's repayment, so how you repay your master's loan. So you will repay a percentage of your income over the threshold. As you can see, the threshold here is £21,000 yearly or gross for your type of loan. So depending on how often you get paid and what you get paid, that's kind of depends how much you will repay. So mostly you'll be paying it monthly, but there are obviously options of paying it weekly or yearly depending on how you are getting paid. As I've said, the yearly threshold is £21,000, which means your monthly threshold is somewhere around £1,750, and a weekly threshold is £403. Again, that depends on how you're getting paid, if it's yearly, monthly, or weekly, kind of what your salary says. You'll pay back 6% of your income over the threshold, which differs to the percentage of the threshold of your undergraduate loan if you have received one. So you are going to start paying back your master's course if you're eligible for undergraduate funding as well. Obviously, it depends on the plan that you're on, but you are going to repay your master's loan most likely before your UG loan, because your undergraduate loan threshold is at a higher point. So for example, if you're on plan 5 with your undergraduate loan, that threshold is at 25,000 and you're paying back 9% of your income for that if you have that undergraduate loan. So you're obviously looking at repaying your postgraduate loan at a much earlier stage than your undergraduate loan, and later on it will be combined. There is a repayment cap. So again, this is usually 6% of your earnings above £21,000. If you do at any point fall under that threshold or you become unemployed, at that point it will stop. You will not need to repay until you get back above that threshold. And after 40 years, your loan will be written off. So this is the postgraduate loan repayment. This is honestly just a broad picture of what the postgraduate loan repayments look like. So your master's loan repayment looks like if you only got the master's loan. The student loan company will do this automatically and will deduct this automatically from your salary, but it is always great to know, how it looks, how it works, what it should be. So I always recommend having a look on the government website. They explain the calculation behind it as well, and it's always kind of important to see. But you can see as your salary rises, you'll be paying off more. Similarly, if your salary at any point will fall, you'll be paying less. So it does balance that kind of out. And obviously, once your salary falls below the threshold point, your payments will automatically stop. So you can see once you've hit the threshold on its own, so you're not above it, but you've just hit it, the £21,000 of your annual income, your gross annual income, and your monthly income before tax, which is 1,750, you're currently not repaying anything. That is because you've just hit the threshold, so you haven't gone above it yet. As soon as you go above it, you will see, for example, the £22,000, you will pay your £4 monthly repayment. And that will increase each time. As the more you earn, the more it will increase. And that's how it will work, so that the repayments stay manageable, so that if you're earning less, you're repaying less. But the more you earn, the more you're going to be able to repay, but also it stays manageable, so you won't feel the increase of the repayments so early on. If you are doing a repayment loan with postgraduate and an undergraduate loan, it will look something like this. So you can see that there is different repayment loans. So you can see that I've got repayment loan plan 2 on there and the repayment postgraduate plan on there as well. Please note you'll have to check what your undergraduate payment plan is, and depending on that, that is the repayment that you need to do. So repayment plan for undergraduate, if you have started your course between the 1st of September 2012 and the 31st of July 2023, that is going to be repayment plan 2. Please do visit the government website if your repayment plan is different, and they'll explain the different figures with the repayment plan that you'll have. So you can see here, as I've explained earlier, where you have that, depending on when your threshold is met, it differs kind of when you'll be paying. So you can see the £27,295, that's the threshold for your plan 2 for your undergraduate degree. For your undergraduate loan, you are not repaying anything because you've just met the threshold. However, you have exceeded the threshold for your postgraduate, so your master's loan repayment, so you will be repaying that. That's £31. As soon as you've gone over both of the thresholds, for example, with £30,000 that you'll receive gross annually, you can see that your payment plan for undergraduates has gone to £20. Your repayment plan for your postgraduate, so your master's loan, has gone to £45, which means your monthly payment is now £65. And again, it will increase as you kind of earn more money to ensure that it does stay manageable and you are able to still repay it. Again, if your income does fall, that means you are unable to repay one of your loans or both of your loans, or if you fall completely under both of them, so if you fall under both postgraduates, the master's loan and the undergraduate loan repayment, you won't be repaying anything. But again, this is just an overarched kind of explanation of it. For more details, I highly recommend going to the government webpage or talking with Student Finance England about a little bit about the repayment figures. So this will move us on to self-funding your masters. So this is for anybody who is an international student, if you're looking at self-funding and you're not looking at doing a scholarship. For any home students that are not looking at doing any kind of scholarships or anything like that. If you're literally just looking to pay the masters yourself, this is a little bit of information for you. So paying your tuition fees is obviously a very integral part of the registration process and actually attending university. So if you do not arrange a payment for your fees in advance of your arrival, you'll have the issue of not being able to attend university. So you have to do this at the time of you registering. So you need to set up a payment plan, and this will be done at the time of registration. So postgraduate students will be offered a choice. So for those of you who are home students or EU students who can get the home tuition fees, you will be looking at setting up a payment plan if you pay for yourself, where you have 3 consecutive installments. That's just to kind of match up with the home students who are getting the loan. If you're an international student, you are looking at setting up a 7 consecutive month installment or paying the sum in full at the time of registration. And if you do that, you get what's called a prompt payment discount of 3%. So again, home students or EU students eligible for the home tuition fees, you can set up a 3 consecutive monthly installments, so basically 3 termly you'd be paying, or you can also do the prompt payment discount where you pay everything in full and you get a 3% discount. For international students, again, you get that 3% discount if you pay the full sum at the time of registration. It has to be at the time of registration for both, or you have to set up a 7 consecutive monthly installments at the time of registration. International students as well, you'll need to pay a deposit of £5,500. For home students or those eligible for UK home fees, you will not need to pay that. For any information regarding bank transfers or how you pay those, I recommend going to the website linked below. It tells you exactly what you can use. So for example, you can pay your tuition with a debit or a credit card. With regards to, you can also set up a recurring payment plan, which is called an RCP. So that can be with your debit or your credit card, and that can be set up at the time of registration. If you're doing international bank transfers with cards or e-wallets, so you were using Flywire, so it gives you a lot more information there about exactly how you can pay for that. So we'll now move on to scholarships and bursaries and just give you a little bit of an overview of that. So although we don't offer any general scholarships for home students or those eligible for UK fees, there are some student or subject-specific scholarships. For example, we have the Abdul Aziz Scholarship that supports Muslim students on a range of courses in our business school and arts school, so arts, media and creative technology school. Depending on the course that you do, they kind of support that. Or we also offer our data science scholarships available for MSc Data Science or MSc Internet of Things and Data Science. So we do offer some kind of ones that are specific either to subjects or to the student. So it's well worth having a look at the donor-funded scholarships and bursaries, as well as the data science, if that is something that you're interested in and you hit those criteria. For international students, there are some partial funded scholarships, so we don't offer fully funded scholarships, but these are based on academic achievement or subject specifics. So if you have a look into our partnership scholarships, the Global Gold Excellence Scholarship, Global Silver Excellence Scholarship, it's well worth having a look into those. Additionally, we still offer the Commonwealth Scholarship as well, but these are all like external, so it's well worth having a look and then going on to finding those. So if you have studied an undergraduate degree with us, so at the University of Salford, you will be eligible for a 20% alumni discount as you are an alumni at that point. And this discount will be automatically applied to your tuition fees. This is because we will see that you have done an undergraduate degree here. We'll have you in our system, as well as obviously your transcript and certificates will indicate that. At the time of the recording, there is currently no time limit on this 20%. So whether you have graduated 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you'll still be eligible for this, even if you apply in a couple of years. So at the time of the recording, there is no time limit on this 20%. Again, as I mentioned before, another discount that you can receive is the prompt payment discount. So you can receive a 3% discount off your tuition fees if you pay it in full at the time of registration. Then additional support that you have is your disabled student allowance. As I mentioned before when I did that portal run through, we really recommend that you do indicate if you do have a disability, because eligible students can and are advised to apply for the disabled student allowance before the start of the course. The whole process can take up to 12 weeks to complete not only your application, but with us to kind of contact you and get everything set up. There is a grant of up to £26,948 available. This is obviously weighed on case-by-case basis, but that is the maximum support that you can have. This can include anything such as a BSL interpreter, scribes, audio recording equipment, anything if you need specific computers, chairs, anything like that, any kind of specialist equipment that you may need. Again, if you do have a disability, please signal this on your application. It makes it very easy and very quick for a support team to be able to prepare a plan with you and get you on this disabled student allowance, and that you have access to that at the start of your course, because you don't want to have only access to it halfway through. We want to ensure that you're able to be successful and supported throughout your whole entire master's degree. If you do require any kind of support like this, we would highly recommend you contact the student support team, and they are able to kind of have a chat with you and things like that, and you'll be able to have a little talk with them. Their email address is disability@salford.ac.uk. That is disability@salford.ac.uk. So for some of you who are looking at childcare and dependent grants, you are still eligible for them at postgraduate level, but to qualify for a childcare grant, all of the following aspects have to apply, and there's a full list of that on the government website. But you will need to be in full-time higher education, so you cannot do a part-time, and you cannot be receiving a master's loan. But more information on that is on the government website. To qualify for a dependent adult grant, the adult in question must not be your child or a family relative earning more than £3,796 a year, nor can you get the postgraduate loan. So for further information on that, again, if you go onto the government website or you type into Google childcare grant or government adult dependent grant, you'll get all of the information there. So this is a grant that's provided by the government, not by the university. So now we'll be moving to the NHS Learning Support Fund, also often known as the NHS LSF. So I'll cover a bit of an overview of what you can get for a grant, of what kind of courses this applies to, and basically just some general information around it. So the training grant is no means tested grant. You get £5,000 each academic year for eligible students. On top of that training grant, if you are doing a specialist subject, you get an additional specialist subject payment of £1,000, and that is for certain subjects, and I'll get into the subject in the next slide. So if you are eligible for the SSP, so the Specialist Subject Payment, this will be added to your NHS Learning Support Fund account when you apply for the training grant, so it will basically automatically be added there. The training grant will be paid in 3 termly instalments, and your payment dates will depend on when you start your course, but you will get confirmation obviously from your university, so what your course attendance is, and then the NHS Learning Support Fund will mirror that with the payments when you get them. So eligible students on full-time pre-registration healthcare courses can claim a set amount of £2,000 per academic year for any kind of child support that you may need. So you can kind of see that if you have at least one dependent child under the age of 15 or under the age of 17 years old, if they're registered with special education needs, you'll also receive that grant of £2,000 per academic year, or pro rata if you are doing it part-time. And again, that will be included in those 3 instalments that you kind of have there. Additionally, there is also travel and dual accommodation expenses that you can get covered and that you can request. So this is, for example, you're able to claim back your money if your travel is further out than where you are located. So for example, wherever your permanent address is, depending on how far you may need to travel out. So it might not be that a hospital or where you do your experience is right around the corner. It could be a case that you'll need to travel an hour or an hour and a half. And if that is further than what you'd have to travel for to get to university, then we will cover, well, the NHS Learning Support Fund will cover those kind of excess travel costs, and you'll be able to claim back that money. Additionally, if you need dual accommodation, so depending on wherever you kind of do your where you do your practice and things like that, if you have to stay overnight or you are very far away, again, these are all explained on the NHS page, but depending on that, you'll probably get accommodation costs on your placement as well, and you can claim back all that money. We also advise if you are experiencing unforeseen or financial hardships, so it's called the Exceptional Support Fund, that's a part of the NHS LSF as well. You're able to get £3,000. So this then moves us into the NHS LSF eligible courses, so the eligible courses you're allowed to do to receive this pre-registration, kind of for the pre-registration courses. So we have midwifery on here, we have nursing and the variety of the types of nursing that we do, occupational therapy, prosthetics and orthotics, physiotherapy and podiatry. Please know that this list is longer, but these are only the courses that we offer at Salford. So if there's a different course that you're interested in and it's not on here, we at Salford will not teach it, but you may be eligible for the NHS LSF anyway. Those that have a double star, so that is nursing, mental health, prosthetics and orthotics, as well as podiatry, they are eligible for that subject specialist grant. So you're able to get that additional £1,000. So then with regards to eligibility, you have to be studying a eligible course. That was the list from before, so you're welcome to always rewind back. And it has to be at a university in England. You have to actively be studying, as well as you have to be eligible for the tuition and maintenance support from the student loan company. So as I've said before, if you're doing a pre-registration course, even at master's level, you'll be eligible for undergraduate funding. So if you're eligible for the tuition fee for home students, as well as the maintenance support and all of that from any of those student loan companies, that is then you will be as part of your eligibility for this. You're not eligible if you are receiving the NHS bursary. Again, that is a completely different fund, and I know they sometimes get confused. So the NHS bursary is something completely separate to the NHS Learning Support Fund. So if you are using and getting the NHS bursary, you will not be eligible for this. Then your application process. So you will be registering online with the NHS Business Service Authorities for a NHS Learning Support Fund account. So you will apply for your training grant, and if one of the other areas applies to you, so the SSP, the parental support, the essential hardships, if any of those apply, you obviously will apply for those as well. And you apply for those at the start of each academic year. And you will upload your student finance award letter if you are getting student finance, and you'll upload that. If you don't have student finance, you will need to upload a passport and proof of identification as well. So that could be something like a passport, a driver's license. You will need to provide that. It is possible for you to get the NHS Learning Support Fund without getting the undergraduate funding, but it is something that you might want to read into a little bit further as well. All applications must be submitted within 6 months of the start of the academic year, and I've added in a link there for yourselves to find out a little bit more about this funding. And then we'll move on to the most important part of this NHS Learning Support Fund, which is, will you have to repay this? And the great answer to that is no. This is a grant, so it is non-repayable. It is just additional support for you whilst you study. So the NHS have provided this fund as a non-repayable grant, and it's just additional money to actually support you in being able to complete this degree and be successful with it, because it can be quite expensive having to travel, having to go around and staying at extra accommodations and all of that. So please don't forget to apply for those additional placement costs when your placements do come through. And then finally, we move on to the last part of this recorded session, which is the I've applied, what next? So what happens once you've actually applied? So for tracking your application, so your email confirmation, once you've submitted your application, you'll receive an email from the admissions team. If you don't see this in the inbox, please do make sure that you check your junk folder or your spam folder just to make sure. If in the first instance you do not find it, head back to the portal and just see under the submitted section what I've showed you before, if you can see your application there. And then if you still haven't received your confirmation email, please make sure you contact the relevant admissions team. So you can see that there's a variety of admissions email addresses on the screen. So it's admissionssbs@salford.ac.uk. So that is for the Salford Business School. So if you're doing anything that is going to be studied at the Salford Business School, you will want to email admissions SBS, so Sierra Bravo Sierra, at salford.ac.uk. If you are looking at anything with regards to Science, Engineering and Environment School, so School of Science, Environment or Engineering, you will want to email admissions SEE, so Sierra Echo Echo, hyphen PGT, so P for Papa, G for Golf, T for Tango, at salford.ac.uk. If you're applying for anything at the School of Arts, Media and Creative Technology, you'll be sending an email to admissionssam@salford.ac.uk. So that's admissions Sierra Alpha Mike @salford.ac.uk. And then you also have 2 separate email addresses for the health school. So it does depend on whether you're doing like nursing or if you're doing something like psychology. So we have admissions health society @salford.ac.com. Admissions health society @salford.ac.uk. I do apologise. And that is for anybody who's looking at doing nursing, midwifery, any of those courses. And we also have admissions health sciences @salford.ac.uk, and that is for anybody who's looking at doing things like counselling, psychotherapy, all of those types of courses. Just to let you know, if you do accidentally email the wrong admissions team, that is fine as well, because they will pass it on. So do not worry if you accidentally send it to the wrong email address, and specifically if you're in health, they will pass it on, so don't worry about that. So the university will contact you again when you've made a decision, and whether you need to check whether an offer has been made. So once they've made a decision, you'll get an email again, and that's where you can see what the outcome of your application is. The application will often sit with a tutor if there's any further information required, and that can kind of sit on your portal as well. So if there's anything extra that we're waiting from you, for example, those certificates or some experience, you'll be sent that in an email and you'll have to upload that on your portal. And then if you are successful, you can download your offer letter from the portal where I showed you before. You had that decision, all of those kind of areas. That's where you basically have that, and that's how you'll be receiving your offer. So on that note, if your application is successful, you'll receive an offer letter outlining your terms and conditions, which includes the type of offer that you can receive and what your conditions, basically what conditions you may be expected to meet. So you can receive an unconditional offer. That means that you have satisfied all of the requirements for the entry and we have accepted you as a student. Or you can receive an conditional offer, which means that there are still some outstanding conditions that you need to meet before we can accept you as a student. So for example, that could be your exam results, your references, your personal qualifications, any of those. So don't be alarmed if you get a conditional offer. Just make sure that whatever outstanding conditions you have, you meet those. So offer conditions primarily, as I said, that's exam results. So for example, if you haven't sat your exams yet, you haven't got your transcripts yet or your certificates, for example, that's another good example, as I've mentioned before. It's just making sure that once you graduate, once you have those certificates, you upload those. Again, if you are getting a conditional offer, those will all of your conditions will be stated within that offer letter. It may be one, it may be more conditions. So just make sure you read that offer letter, that conditional offer letter clearly, and just make sure that you are meeting each condition that they've added there. So you should submit your conditional offer evidence as soon as possible, but it must be submitted and uploaded to your evidence area on the hub, where I've told you before, no later than 2 weeks before the start of the course. So that is no later. The admissions team will be chasing you on it, but just for your own peace of mind, please upload it as soon as possible. If you do have any questions or issues, do contact the admissions team using the details that I've said to you before, or the details that are in the offer letter. So you will have the specific school that you need to contact in that offer letter. So please ensure that you use that. This could be, for example, if you're having issues with your file being too big, or there is an issue that it's not letting you upload, please email the admissions team, letting them know using that email address that you have. You don't want to waste any time. You don't want to have any issues. So email that admissions team if you do have any problems or any questions. They are very quick to respond, so you do want to make sure that you have that additional support there as well. And then we come to replying to your offer. So whether you receive an unconditional or a conditional offer, you have to confirm if you wish to accept your place with us, if you wish to decline your place with us, or if the opportunity is there to defer your academic year. It is very important that you, if you want to accept the offer, that you do this no later than 2 weeks before the start of the course. Ideally, you would do this as soon as possible. This is so that you receive your registration information in time, your timetable information in time, and basically you get to start all of that stuff very early before your course even starts. The earlier you accept your offer, basically it means that you'll be in that first batch of when the registration information goes out. So it's one of those things, the earlier you accept, the more likely you're able to receive your registration information earlier and get all that, because you don't want to have to do it, no later than 2 weeks before, and then last minute have to fill out all of your registration information, and if any issues then arise as well, you don't want to have to delay your start date or any of that kind of stuff. But just to kind of confirm, we will not send you any registration information to any applicants who have not accepted their offer letter. So if you do choose to decline your offer, please do not leave it please don't just leave it. Make sure you select I decline my offer if that's the case, as you will be chased by the admissions team about having to reply to your offer. And please let us know if you will accept, decline, or defer it. But again, if you do want to accept your offer, ensure you do so as soon as possible, because you will not be sent that registration information without having accepted your offer. And then we have your registration opening and deadlines. So at the moment, for next year, the expected online registration has not been given yet. So usually for a September intake, the registration is usually within the first 2 weeks of August. So for example, this year in August 2024, it was on the 19th of August where the registration portal went live. But you can take that as kind of with a pinch of salt for the following year. So in August 2025, that will kind of vary. For your January intakes, for any January intakes for 2025, it will be in December this year. So it will be, basically registration is throughout the year, and they do start sending invites roughly 6 weeks before the start of the course date. So obviously if your course is in January, and if you're looking at the 6 weeks, you'll have your registration in December, but it might even be at the end of November. So keep those eyes peeled for that email to come through, because you will get it if you accept your offer. So then if you accept your offer while the registration team are sending out the comms, you will receive a registration invite within the period. So as long as you're within that period of those 6 weeks, we will be sending you those registration offers. The registration window, it's live, so basically means as soon as all of your conditions are met. So if you're unconditional, obviously you have no conditions to met, but if you're conditional and you've met all of your conditions, you will receive a registration email within 24 hours of accepting your offer. So because obviously we will do it in batches, so the admissions team sends out the registration invites in batches. So if you do it in the morning of a Tuesday, it's most likely that you'll only get it on that Wednesday or potentially Thursday morning. So it's within that 24-hour window, okay? And then obviously you'll need to make sure that you complete your registration in time for the start of the induction period. So basically you will be provided with information when your induction starts. Your induction is usually the week before your teaching commences, so you have to make sure that you complete this registration before your induction period. We always ask that you do it as soon as possible, just because you don't want to be caught out with any issues or any problems. So then I will give you a little bit of information around the registration login and process. So all students are issued with a student ID and a PIN for login. This will come in the email address, so please don't lose that. I would highly recommend archiving it, starring it, whatever you need to do to keep that email safe. Otherwise, even note it down so that you remember. And you will, for your registration, you will need to provide a uploaded copy of a passport style photo. So if you have a passport style photo, just upload that. Otherwise, take a passport style photo. This is the photo that will be used on your student ID card. So please ensure that you're not wearing sunglasses or anything like that, that your face is clearly visible. Maybe don't choose a very colourful background, things like that. Just make sure that it's a solid colour so it's very easy to identify you on your student ID card. You'll also need to check and update any personal information. So if there's anything incorrect with your name, your date of birth, your email, make sure everything is as you want it, everything is correct. And then you have to read your terms and conditions, so the university's terms and conditions, and you have to accept those. And then you'll need to confirm how you pay. So this is where I've mentioned before in the finance section of this, you'll have to confirm how you're paying your fees. So at this point, it is a case of, are you paying it self-funded? Are you doing it as with a student loan company? How are you paying? And then you need to set up a payment plan. If you're paying it in full, this is also where you would indicate that you're paying it in full, and you would pay it right there, right then in full, and you get that 3% prompt payment discount. So for any international students or students who require a visa to study here in the UK, you will also need to book and attend an international check-in appointment in person to provide your immigration documents. I highly recommend visiting that website, whether you're a home or a UK home or international student. It's an excellent page that basically gives you a walkthrough video of all the information that you need to bring, everything that you kind of need, as well as a walkthrough of the login portal and all of that. So that is at www.salford.ac.uk/welcome/registration. Alternatively, you can go on our website and just type in registration and it'll get you to the right details that you need. And again, I move on to that topic of tuition fees and funding. As part of your registration, you will have to indicate at registration how you wish to pay for your student fees, set up that payment plan, whether it's in installments, if it's in full. If you select installments, obviously how you're going to pay those installments. Is it reoccurring card payments? Is it with your student loan? Is it with a scholarship that you'll be paying? So this is kind of where you really need to insert that. And most installment plans will ask for payment after the first month of study. So you will receive a timeline of your payment dates once you have basically indicated how you will pay. So this is where it's really important that you ensure that you fill it in correctly, that you know how you're going to be funding your tuition fees, how you know how you're going to be paying, and that you get your installments right as well, like how you will be paying in installments if that is a case that you will do that, so that you can get the accurate timeline of your payment dates. And then lastly, once you've kind of completed your registration and you come to the university, you will have Welcome and Induction Week. So Welcome and Induction Week takes place a week prior to your teaching week. It includes induction of your courses, so where all of the tutors will introduce themselves, they'll talk you through what you'll be doing for that first trimester. And again, Welcome and Induction Week will also happen in January, and they'll continue kind of telling you everything that you will be doing throughout your kind of course. They'll introduce themselves as program leads, as tutors, potentially even technicians, depending on where you go. You get to meet and greet not only lecturers, but you also get to meet your peers. We have lots of fairs and stands. So I know this time around we had a Ferris wheel, we had like axe throwing, which is the sticky axe throwing, not proper axe throwing. We had like battling, those kind of things. You also get a lot of freebies on campus. So, you know, anything from pizzas to pastries to energy bars, drinks, things like that. So the Welcome and Induction Week is really a fun fair for everybody. But it's also there where you can pick up your student ID card. You can pick it up earlier if you wish, but if you are only able to get to us during the Welcome Week, that is when you can come pick up your student ID card as well. You will receive an email to your student email address from the union and from your specific schools and courses detailing all of those bits that are going on at Welcome Week and Induction Week that are specific for you, so anything around your course, your program, but then also the wider bits about what you can get involved with during Welcome Week. And it is a really great way to get involved and see your school's community, but also your university community. Thank you very much for watching this recorded video, and I hope that you have everything that you need from it. If not, feel free to email the inquiries team or give them a ring. You can reach them on 0161 295 4545. Alternatively, you can reach them at inquiries@salford.ac.uk. Also, if you want, feel free to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or X as it's now called, formerly Twitter, now called X, or TikTok. And those are our handles on the screen. Have a very lovely day and thank you for watching.